different categories of functions argument and how they actually work, and what is the use, why we are providing such kind of, why we have categorized them into these categories. So here is the tutorial, and I'm going to provide you notes as well. So what I have captured from a book of Sultan Chan publication. So types of arguments is the topic. You can see the theory part there in the computer screen. So I have just captured these images from the book. Definitely I'm going to share. So let's start. See, if you notice this thing, categories are given here in the theory part. Positional argument, default argument, keyword argument, variable length arguments. So we are going to cover these 4 categories in our tutorial today. Let's start with this. I'm assuming that you all are familiar with functions now. So the first is positional arguments. Here is a very basic program. I have just written the code. So if you notice this, our program is going to start from here. As I have told you, the execution starts from this end in our live session, and if some of you are not there in the live class, so you can easily understand. So in this program we are going to ask 2 number from the user end, and will pass these 2 number to the function. My function name is myfun, and we are expecting an output as x minus y. The value of x and y should be provided by the users. So let's start. And why do we call it positional argument? So let's start it. Let's just execute this program. Now it is asking for a number, so I just entered 15 here. Second number is 10. So the output is 5, because the function was returning us a value, not returning, sorry, the function was actually printing a value x minus y. Whatever the value is provided for x, the it should and value of y, these 2 values should be provided by the users, and the subtraction is provided by the function. If I'm going to change the sequence num2 minus num1, let's just execute it again. So if I'm writing 25 here, and then you can say 10, now you can see the result is minus 15. So we are not expecting a negative result here. So sequence matters. That is why whatever the desired positional argument, desired positions are required in our program, we provide these arguments in the same sequence. So see, there is no hard and fast rule for this, but yes, if something is already provided and we are expecting a positive number here, so we should always keep in our mind that the sequence matters. So it was the first category, which is positional argument. In my next program we have another category of argument, which is known as default arguments. So it is one of the very useful category of arguments. Now you can see this program. The body is almost same as the previous one, but the functionality is totally different. In this program I'm asking the name from the user end, it means from the user, and I'm just calling my function and providing one argument name. So whatever the value of name user will provide here, I'm just passing the same to the function. So in the next line I have just called the function again, but this time I'm not providing any argument. Let's just see the execution and output of the program, then I'm going to explain how does it actually work. See, enter your name. I'm writing Rohit. So now you can see the first line is printing, the first function is printing, hey Rohit, welcome to the Python class, whereas the second function is printing, hey user, welcome to the Python class. Now what is happening here? If you notice the body of the function, I have written name is equals to user. It means name has a default value as user. If a user will not provide any value from, or by calling the function, or not providing any arguments in the function's call, that time this default value will come up and the output will be like, hey user, welcome to the Python. But if a user is replacing the value of arguments with some new values, like in this scenario we are asking a value from the user end, so whatever the user is writing in name will come up here, like, hey Rohit, welcome to Python class. Such kind of arguments are known as default arguments. The next category is keyword or named argument. See, keyword or name arguments is another another category of arguments. It means basically the sequence of arguments. It means, suppose if you notice the definition of function, where the name and message is written. See, my fun, name comma message. So these two arguments are written in a sequence. If there are more than if there is like if number of arguments are more than one, this kind of arguments will work there only. Otherwise there is no use of such category. See, name comma message is given and I have just printed it as, hey name space message, welcome to Python class. It means whatever the value user is providing here will come up and will produce the desired output. So let's move down the next line. Move down to the next line. Print program starts from here, name. We're gonna ask name from the user end, and yes, we're gonna ask a message from the user end what to print, and then I have called the function. And if you notice, in our function definition I have written as name comma message, whereas in my function I'm writing it as message and then name. It means sequence is totally changed. So let's just see the output now. Enter your name in this program. The output is here. I'm just writing a name, Saurav Kumar. Now the message is good morning. See, hey, good morning Saurav Kumar, welcome to the Python class. See, it hardly matters what was the sequence provided in the function's definition. Yes, what sequence is used in function call matters a lot. Let's see the output again. If I'm gonna change the sequence here, I'm writing name first and then message, and I'm going to run it again. Here, Amit Kumar, good evening. See, hey Amit Kumar, the name is coming first and then the message is coming. So whatever the sequence you are providing according to your need is known as keyword or named argument. These things comes under the category of named or keyword argument. Now we have the last category, variable length. I found it very interesting and it is only there in Python. If we talk about C++, it was not there and it is very useful. See, every programming has some good things as well as some bad things. So if we talk about Python, Python provides us such a platform where like you are not required to mug up a lot of things, a lot of syntax. Whereas in C++ there was a pattern given where you have to write down the code or your program in the same manner. Here maximum functions are previously defined by the interpreter. So if we notice this program, there is one function given. I have just written this function, my fun. I'm just using asterisk there, and then I have written one variable n, sum has a value 0, and then I have written for loop for I n n. It means whatever the value is there in n, our loop will work till then only. Next is sum is equals to sum plus I, to add the value of like n, whatever the values are coming from n. Every time new value is coming, it is going to add in sum. Next we are going to print the answer. It means the final value of sum. So that was the body of the function, definition of the function. Now let's just move to the function call. I have written here print program starts from here. I have just called my fun here without passing the argument. Just notice this thing. Next, in the next line, I have just written this print statements just to provide you a kind of division between two functions. I have given one argument in the next call, which is 10. Next, I have given two arguments, and after that, I have given three arguments. So what does it do? Let's just see the execution, then I'm going to explain. Let's just run this program. See, the answer of the first call is 0 because you are not providing any value. It means n has no value. So loop will work only one and will add 0 to 0. It means it will produce the 0 output. Next line, you are providing 10. It means n has a value as 10 now. So loop will work. It means for I in n, जो भी n में है, whatever is present there in n will add with sum, and sum has a value as 0. It means sum is equals to 0 plus 10, which is 10. So it is producing the output as 10. In the next line, I am providing two arguments together. So now output is 30. It means 10, and then second time loop will go to the 20 and will add 20 as well. It means 10 plus 20 is 30 here. Next 10, 20, 30. Now n has three arguments. It means loop will work three times. It means 10, it will add first, then 20, then 30. The output would be like 60. So if it is not defined that how many arguments we are going to use, and it totally depends upon the user. Like if we talk about calculator, so in calculator we cannot tell user this calculator is only made for adding two numbers or three numbers. There is a limit. So in such scenario we can use such kind of argument, which is very useful. This category is known as variable length arguments category. So in this tutorial we have covered all four types of argument category, and I have provided all the notes here in the PDF, which I'm going to share with the video part. Next thing what we are going to discuss today is return. It means the function can be returned a value to the program output or the main part of the program. If we talk about this program, let's just remove this, or we can make a new program here. I'm going to copy. See, in this scenario we are printing the value here. We are not returning. This function is not returning anything. It is just printing a value which is coming up by adding the sum and I value. So I'm going to make this as comment, and I'm writing here one statement, return sum. Let's just run this. I'm giving it as name. So there is no output, only program starts from here is given. Why it is not producing any output? Yes, program is working fine and the function is also working very fine, but output is not appearing. Why? Because we have only called the function, and yes, function is returning us a value as sum, but there is no statement given to print the result. We can do it in several ways. The first is I'm taking one variable as temp is equals to my fun, and in the very next line I'm going to print the temp. So we can write it as answer now. Just see the output. The answer is 0 because we have not provided the argument there. Another way to do it is do not use this third variable or any other variable. Simply use print function and keep that user defined function inside the print statement. You can use your message here, answer. Now see the output. Output is same. Output is just same. what is happening here, this function is returning a value to the main part of the program. So this function is going up like this. Now this function is going up and performing the calculation, and in the last line it is returning a value to the body, to the function call, not to the body. This is how it works. So these are the two way like we can call the function and can print the value. If we talk about the previous body, what we have done there, we were not returning any value that time, we were printing the result there itself. Let's see the output now. You can see program starts from here, it means the first line which is printed here. Next answer is 0. Okay, this answer is 0, it means the second line here it is. And next is none. We are printing the output here, we are printing the function returns value here, so which is none. It means this function is not returning anything. That is why the interpreter is telling us none. So this is how return statements work, and it is very useful. We should avoid calculation in our function definition, and we should not print the result there because it doesn't allow us to do the programming independently, जो कि हमारे function की main feature है. So we should always return something from the function. So this is how the function return statement work. Hope these things are clear to you, and in our next tutorial I'll try to end up the lesson chapter number 2 function, because only few things are left. So let's just meet in the next video. Till then, Sai Ram.